Hi guys, and I welcome you all to today's price action analysis video. This is the price action analysis of the 15th of June 2022, and I will first talk about the 14th today because I was unable to record any video yesterday, and I'm sure most of you would have waited for the video, but due to certain reasons I could not post that video for a couple of days. So let's just go back and analyze yesterday's price action, that is 14th of June price action, before we start with the 15th one. So I'll quickly brush this up with you. Okay, what happened on the 13th? We saw that 13th opened gap down and we had a massive gap down in both Nifty, Bank Nifty, and then we saw that the day was it really fizzled out. It really did not go anywhere and it went pretty much sideways the entire day, and there was really no particular entry point on that day. And usually when the indices open with a big gap down and they after the gap down make a big red candle, and since it's beyond the S5 pivot also, most often it happens that the day the rest of the day usually tends to be sideways and the price does not really go anywhere. Sometimes it can reverse also, but it is very unlikely that the price will go on trending or falling in the same fashion the way it has fallen before the open. And so when we went on to the 14th, we could see that the price had opened within the range of the previous day. See, this being the PDL, I'm talking about Bank Nifty here. Here, this being the PDL, and here in Nifty, this being the PDL, that is the low of the 13th. The price in both Nifty and Bank Nifty, you can see here, it had opened. In Bank Nifty, it opened exactly at the or around the PDL, but immediately here it went in, closed inside the PDL, then it broke the PDL, but S1 gave support and it went up again. Even in Nifty, it kind of opened within the PDL, that is the range of the 13th, then it broke down with this particular candle, but then that breakdown was not sustained and it was a false breakout, and the candle immediately closed inside the previous day's range. And mind you, this was a day with a narrow CPR. So what do we usually do on days with narrow CPR? We usually tend to ensure that we don't take trades in which we look at sideways markets. So we usually look at trending markets on such days. And now you can see how the price has actually trended for the first half of the day in Nifty, and later on it actually went into a correction mode, and then it almost came down to the low of the first 1 hour, and then it kept going sideways after that in Nifty. And in Bank Nifty, what happened was there was a good opportunity in Bank Nifty here. Why? Let us study Bank Nifty. See, let's go in full screen mode in Bank Nifty and I'll explain to you why there was a good opportunity. See, in Bank Nifty on the 14th of June, when price opened, it had opened outside the previous day's range, okay, and it was clearly taking support at the S1 pivot. You can see this pivot down here, the S1 pivot, and you can see the wick at the same place. So haven't I always mentioned in every video that you should treat them as twins, DH and R1 and DL, that is the PDL and S1. So the previous day high and R1 and the previous day low and S1 are to be treated as twins. So if one is broken or price opens outside the range of one and it is beyond the range or inside the range of the other S pivot, that is the S1 pivot, then you should not take any trade till that S1 pivot was broken. Now you will ask me if this candle actually broke through the S1 pivot. No, it did not break the S1 pivot because the low here is important. Now if you mark this low, you can see that the S1 pivot was never broken. The candle here was taking support exactly at the first candle's low, and hence the S1 pivot here, though it looks like it was broken, it was never broken because the buyers were still persistent up to this point. So till any red candle closed outside this particular line like this with a strong red candle, you cannot say that it is a breakout candle. And so the S1 pivot definitely was not broken in the first candle yesterday, or rather in the third candle yesterday. This was the 9:25 AM candle. Okay, going forward now, tell me what happens here when you see a day like here, like this. See, the day has fallen from here to here. After opening, it has fallen this much, right? So what do you know here? You know that the sellers are active in this area and the sellers have pushed the price so low even in the pre-open session. And so you can see here that after the price went sideways and there was a slight bounce here in this area, you can see how the bounce was there, slight improvement or a slight recovery in Bank Nifty in the very later half of the day. very late in the afternoon rather, I would say. Here you can see that a lot of sellers were still active within this particular day here. And now when a price or when a candle opens outside this particular pivot or previous day low and it tends to go beyond the S1 pivot, there are many traders who want to jump into this candle thinking that the price is going to fall further from here. So understand the psychology of all these traders, and they actually literally just jump into this candle even before the first candle is actually formed. And what happens once the candle is formed? The candle actually is forming till then it is red up to this point, right? You can see that the candle would be red up to that point because here this color would be red, right, when it is forming, and it would for a while clearly show that it is breaking out of the S1 pivot also. So it would show a very bearish sign here, right? Especially when you see a day like yesterday, the previous day on the 13th. And then you can see that this particular price action here, even before the candle closes, a lot of traders would jump into this particular candle here. And when the candle closes like this and second candle immediately forms a red candle like this, then their confidence here in the price actually pushing downwards is even more. So once the price closes inside the previous day's range, those who have jumped into this particular candle, as well as those traders who are active from this particular day, those sellers who are active from this particular day, that is from the 13th, will want to add on to their positions to push the price further from here. But instead what happens? Price starts to go against them. And so when the price starts to go against them, actually this is your entry point. Why? Because the candle has actually closed inside the previous day's range. What does that mean? It means that all those traders who are short in this particular day, that is on the 13th, and are carrying open positions, and all those traders who saw this wick and jumped into that candle even before the candle closed and they were impatient, will now be panicking after they see this particular first candle. And so they try to push the price down. Momentarily the price for the next 10 minutes tries to correct itself. It corrects itself right up to the day's low, and then it forms a particular green candle here, and this is your entry to go long. So don't go long here. If you go long here on the high or on the close of this candle, your SL is going to be somewhere here below that low. So look how big that SL is going to be. But now imagine you entering on this particular candle here. Your SL is only this small. Your SL is still in the same place, but see where you are entering. Instead of entering here, you are entering here, and in this particular green candle after it is formed. So you get a confirmation. Why are you getting a confirmation there? Because you can see that price was pushed by the sellers here, but then the buyers have come back here at the low of this particular candle. You have the day's low support, and now this price is going to be pushed up. Should you be worried about this PDL? No, you should not be worried about this PDL acting as a resistance at this point, because this first candle has already broken the previous day low resistance, and it has been broken as a support also by the very next candle. So this particular previous day low means nothing. So forget about it. Don't think about it. Now your important level is going to be the S1 pivot. Is the S1 pivot broken? No, because as I just said in the opening of the video, this S1 pivot is still active till this lower line is broken. And is this lower line broken? No. Before that lower line, you can see a reversal candlestick pattern here. So even if you combine these two candlesticks, you can see that there is a reversal sign candlestick pattern here in these two candlesticks. You can see that there is a red colored pin bar there. Yes, it is red in color, but at least it has a very long wick here, because if you add up these two candlesticks, then what do you get here? You will get a very small, this kind of a body here on the top here, and then you will get a very small wick here on the high, but you get a very tall wick on the bottom. And so this particular candle will indicate that it is a buying candle. Why? Because in spite of the color being red, it still means that there are buyers on the bottom here, very strong buyers, which are supported by the first candle. And hence all that entire short covering rally right through the CPR, it went and broke right through the CPR. But if you entered here, so if you were to enter at this particular point after the close of this green candle, would you be waiting to take your target at the CPR? No, that would not be your location to take your profit. Your location would still be the high of this particular candle here. So your entry would be where I have drawn this arrow right here. Your SL would be somewhere here. Give it some room, give some room for the market to play around, and your target would be at this blue line that I've drawn. Okay, this particular thick line that I've drawn, that would be a target. And so you can see here that your target is much bigger than your SL. Okay, so that was the entry point in Bank Nifty on the 14th, and it was clearly a very strong entry point. Why? I'll show you on Nifty now. The 9:30 AM candle was taking support exactly at the demand zone. This line that we have marked, which was coming from a previous price action, is now marked in dotted line because I wanted to denote it. After this particular day was formed, I converted it into a dotted line, but at that time it was a solid line, which indicates that it was still an active demand zone. And so Nifty also had a demand zone support in this candle, and so Bank Nifty had a strong day low support here as well as an S1 pivot support. So this was a very highly conducive trade in Bank Nifty yesterday. So now let's head over to today's price action. We will start with Nifty and we will see how Nifty did today. See, on the 15th, you can see that Nifty has opened flat, and when it was forming, this candle had actually formed a very strong green candle. So this candle was forming had formed to this high, and at that time it was seemingly a strong green candle, and when it was green, it was actually above the central pivot. And then you can see how it has actually been pushed down here, and then the buyers came in and pushed it up to here, but then the candle closed below the central pivot instead of closing above it. Had this candle closed above the central pivot, this might have been a trending day right up to the previous day high, and then it might have been a very good trade to take had it not been such a huge candle. So had this candle actually went up here, and I'll just show you what sort of a candle it should have been to ensure that it was tradable. Had this candle been like this, something like this, with a wick like this here, resting exactly at the central pivot, then going long on the close of this particular candle here might have been a very good idea, but still keeping the SL or the entry point here and the SL below it would have been a very big SL, right? So here at the such points, you should usually enter whenever price corrects up to the central pivot or up to the bottom top central or the bottom central pivot. So if it corrects up to the central pivot, the best thing is to do is enter or keep the SL here and enter at the central pivot. So this would be your entry, and then from here you can easily target the previous day high. But you have to ensure when you're trading on the first candle that the other index must also be trading above the central pivot range. It should not be like the other index is trading somewhere here below the central pivot and you go on and take a long trade at this particular point in one index. That is not done. Both the indices should be showing strength. But here what happened was Nifty had actually made this kind of a doji pattern candle in the very first candle. What did this show? This showed that there was a lot of uncertainty during this in this period. And usually when such huge candles are formed with huge wicks, then what happens is usually the day tends to go sideways within that particular range itself. The price does not tend to go anywhere else but that range. So it trades within that range itself. Now you can see how this wick has gone below that candle, the opening candle's wick. So then this particular blue line should be shifted to this level here. And now you can see how that level has not been broken at all today. So price has basically traded between the high and the low of the first candle itself. Usually it is seen that the price will trade within those ranges itself, okay, for the entire day. And then you can see how it took support exactly at that level when it closed also. So if this was the first hour low, then it is taking support exactly at that level. You can see this. That level has really not been broken, and again this level has also not been broken. You can see how this particular level has been respected also. So it's been a very sideways kind of a day today and no real price action to show you anything. What you should understand during such points is that till this or this point, or now in this case this candle's low, are convincingly broken, you should not go into a trade entry point here. If you are a directional trader, that is. If you're a non-directional trader, it does not matter really. You can, or if you are a 9:25 AM straddle strangle player, it really does not matter, because then you are a non-directional player. But then anyway, I don't make videos for non-directional players at all, because I myself am a directional player. So considering the fact and presuming that you are a directional player who are watching these videos, then definitely till these particular levels are broken, these are star levels. So on such days you should not look to open any particular position, and you should not really look to go long or short at any particular time in the day till you see any particular level or high or the low of that candle broken convincingly. But it does not matter, because this first candle here is basically neither a buyer's nor a seller's candle. So on such days I usually advise you to just simply refrain from trading and sit out and just observe the market's play, just observe how the market is going. And it was not a very choppy day. We have seen much choppier days than this. It was a pretty calm day today. Price just kept going sideways. No real big movements in price. You can see how CPR has acted as a magnet today. It has not allowed price to go anywhere away from it. Anytime that price tried to go away from it, the price was pulled back to it. The price was pulled back to it. Then here it again pulled back. It traded within the zone. It went sideways, and then finally it came and settled around the day's low here. So day's low is a strong support, but neither the day's low is a strong demand zone nor is the day's high a strong supply zone. So those levels are definitely important. So tomorrow, whichever level is broken, the price might explode and in that direction, but don't just go and blindly take a trade if the PDH or the PDL are broken tomorrow. All right, you have to be careful. We do not see a very big fall, or we do not see a very big jump in today's price action, so neither level will be a big level for tomorrow. So just be careful when playing in tomorrow's price action. And depending on today's price action, do we have any important levels to add in this particular day? I don't see any important levels to be added here except for the levels that we have already marked. Keep this dotted line ready, because the dotted line denotes that that level has been retested a couple of times and price is now very close to that level. The PDL and PDH should anyway be drawn because they are important levels. It doesn't matter whether they are supply zones or demand zones, they will always be important levels on the chart. And then you can see how we have a huge gap here, and then we have a virgin CPR on top here, right? So that is the price action analysis of Nifty. Now let's head over to Bank Nifty and we will see how Bank Nifty did today. Let's go to the 15th of June here, and we will see here what happened in Bank Nifty. It also opened with a doji style candle. It was not a strong candle at all in either respect. The first candle shows the trend of the day, okay, and whenever you see that there is a first candle forming which is like this, as I just said in Nifty, you should always go ahead and mark off the high and the low of this candle, and you have to see what sort of price action you see in that particular area. But the very point being that this is a green candle, yet it has a big wick on the top as well as a big wick on the bottom. It suggests that there is a huge compression within this area, and the buyers and sellers are really going strong at it. But now you can see here that this particular high here was broken by this wick here, right? So what you should do is you should delete that line, and then now you should draw a line on this particular high. Now you can see that this particular wick broke out of that line, right? This green candle's wick. So now again delete that line and shift the wick higher to this candle here. Now you can see how this wick has gone on the top here. So now go ahead and move the line to the high of that particular candle, and now can you see that that wick has only been broken by this particular wick, and then the price kept going sideways. It took resistance at the same line and then it has gone down. So that level, the level of this wick has not been broken by any body. It has only been broken by this wick. And so you can see that this particular high has never been broken in Bank Nifty, and you can see that this level here on the low was broken by this particular red candle, but it was a false breakout and price reversed back into that zone again. So if you are trading on a 5-minute breakout strategy, then this was the day when if you had gone short in this area on this particular candle, then your SL would have been taken out today. But this was not a good trade to take anyway, because this particular candle, in spite of the fact that it is green, it is not a buyer's candle at all. So there are no buyers here who have a lot of SLs here. So what is the motto of our channel? It is to encash on trap traders, right? So do you find that any traders are really trapped in this particular candle here? No. This is an institutional buying or selling candle, right? You cannot say where whether which player is stronger, whether a buyer is stronger or a seller is stronger. A strong seller is sitting here and a strong buyer is sitting here, and they are punching each other, right? So you should stay out of the match. Don't enter the match in this area. In this area, avoid entering at all. On such days, I would suggest that you should avoid entering at all. Again, as I said, if you are a straddle triangle player, then by all means you can trade on such days. But since you're following my channel, you might be a directional trader like I am. Okay, now let's go ahead and see if we have any important levels here. What do we find on the 5-minute time frame? I did not check Nifty on the 15-minute time frame at all, because I know that the 5-minute time frame clearly shows us that there is nothing important per se in the levels. Okay, and I said in Nifty that you should not mark any PDH or PDL simply because they are not very important zones in Nifty. But in Bank Nifty, you can see that from the day high to the day's low, we have a range of around 305 points. So it doesn't mean that you should mark the PDL as a strong demand zone. It does not need to be marked here. But if you want, you can keep the PDL ready as a demand zone because the price has jumped 305 points. The 15-minute time frame shows us that there are strong green candles here, right? And we saw a small correction for about half an hour here, and after 10:45, that is after 11 a.m., we saw a rise again. So if you are wanting to, you can go ahead and mark this particular PDH as a demand zone, but I would still suggest you to mark it in dotted lines. It is not a very important level in my eyes, in my opinion. And we do not have any virgin CPR, we do not have any gap today. So I think this is all for the levels in Nifty and Bank Nifty. And if you have any doubts, please ask your questions in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified each time I post a new video. Thank you for your patience, guys. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.